Monday, April 20th. Some of you may be under the influence of things that grow, so if that is you, enjoy your day, and if that's not you, also enjoy your day. This week's collective energy is the bear. The bear has been visiting me quite a bit the past, I'd say, month, especially as spring is starting, which is very symbolic for what the bear card represents. So bear energy, I'm gonna put him right here, is all about waking up from a deep spiritual slumber. And so it's really about that feeling of seasons shifting, and this can also be internal seasons. And so at least where I am in Pittsburgh, the last week in particular was a week where it was really cold and wet again. So the few weeks before it was warming up, it felt like spring was starting. Then last week it really felt like they took a step back and with spring. And so now again we have this warmer week. More animals are out. I've noticed more plants and flowers starting to bud and bloom. And so there's even these cues from our external environments, if you're in the northern hemisphere, that spring is happening. And then when you think about this layered with the current pandemic and how that whole situation is playing out, there's been these few weeks of new information and then sort of stagnancy, and then something else is happening and then stagnancy. And so this really alludes to, while bears, from an outside perspective, we may think that they come right out of hibernation, all cheery-eyed and ready to go, but there's this longer process. There's an adjustment period. You know, much like if you've ever had a really deep nap, at least for me in my experience, sometimes I wake up from naps and I don't know how much time has passed. It feels like I slept a full night. I feel more rested, but it also takes me some time to really coach myself back to being more elusively awake. And so this week, this card is reminding us that there might be some ebbs and flows. So you might have felt like you've been making some progress with something in the past few weeks, whether that's some personal healing, whether that's communicating with your family a different way, drinking more water. It could be anything that you might be feeling that at times you're getting like 2 steps forward, and then you might suddenly feel like it's 1 step back. But this bear energy is reminding us that forward progress is still forward progress. And if there are moments where it feels like you're reverting back, how can those be learning opportunities? And the one other thing about bear energy is that if we don't necessarily capitalize on or really embody this energy the first time around, it will come back to visit, because it's this reminder that there are these changes happening. And so this week I'm prompting you with really noticing what cycles seem to be coming up. Are there any shifts that are happening? And if you can't identify one, something you can do is the breath work that we're about to do, but also journal out what realization do I want to wake up to, or what dream do I want to wake up and realize that it can be a reality. So really giving yourself permission to provide the context of what this cycle feels like it could be, and then finding some stillness to see what comes from that. So we are going to do a breathing exercise that is a variation of bear breath. And so bear breath is really modeled off of the fact that when bears are in hibernation, they don't take many breaths. And this is really about energy preservation. But then as they're waking up and as they're now out and about, they then resume what would be their standard waking breathing frequency. And so for this exercise, we're going to start breathing in for 8 counts, hold for 2, exhale for 8 counts, hold for 2, and repeat that box breathing a few times. And then we're going to shorten our breath frequencies. So we're going to go from 8 counts to 4 counts to 1 count. So it will go to being from very slow and sort of like a slumbery breathing, to ending up with the quicker pace, as if that bear, we're saying, was going to get something to eat. And while this is happening, just notice what your body feels like. And if anything comes up, any movements that you need to do, honor that. And always you can share out what happens for you. So if you want to lay down, you can do that. You can be seated, whatever floats your boat. So really take the first few breaths to just notice your body and drop into it. On your next inhale, inhale for a count of 8. Hold for 2. Exhale for 8. Hold for 2 and repeat. Now you're going to inhale for 6. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6. Hold for 2 and repeat. Now hold for 4. Now in for 4. Out for 4. In for 2. Out for 2. Now go to 1. Now in for as long as you can. Hold. Exhale fast. Bat your eyes open. Wiggle your fingers and toes. How did it feel to bear breathe? I don't know. For me, I could really feel as we started to quicken and shorten the breaths, more of my body feeling warm. So right now we're going to end with a variation, a seated variation of chair pose. So if we were in yoga and we were standing up, chair pose would be just slightly pitched forward. But we're going to do a bear variation. So we're literally going to pivot or hinge at our hips, but go as forward as we can. Instead of rounding our back, we're going to keep some straightness in our back. You're just going to take a few deep breaths. And as you shorten your breaths, you can elevate yourself to being upright. By the time you're upwards, you should be doing those 1-to-1 breaths we just did. And perhaps what you felt was this sort of waking up of your spine. So you were pitched over with deeper breathing, which you might have felt more pressure, in your stomach area. And then as you went upright, you were breathing in those quicker breaths into your spine. Or you could have experienced something totally different, and that's also okay. So Thank you for joining today for Relocate with Lori Robin, and we were, remember, pivoting our commute time into community time. And a quick recap again is that this week's energy is the bear. The bear is going to be guiding us out of this slumber so that way we can realize and actualize more of our spiritual and I'd say spiritual dreams, practices, realization. So any movement that you can find this week is going to be really helpful. You can play around with pairing movement with breath work, but the more that you can listen to your body's desires for movement this week, the more you can channel that bear energy. And remember, it's okay to have those ebbs and flows. That's very natural because we're coming out of this spiritual hibernation. So you may also notice that you're perceiving things differently this week, that you have more insights, that more questions about your current situation are coming up. So find time to honor those as they come up, whether that's journaling, reaching out to someone, asking for support, or really, again, pairing that with some body movement and breath work and see what comes up. Oh, huge yawn. That was my bear waking up. So thank you for tuning in. I have to do the whole pretend that it's more coordinated reach forward to end the video, and I hope you have a razzle dazzle week.